I paid $18,200 to live in a $975 a month apartment. That's $6,500 more than the math says it should be. 12 months. Every dollar tracked. Every receipt saved. I'm going to show you exactly where it hid, because I didn't see it until the lease was over and my savings account was gutted. If you've ever felt like your paycheck disappears and you can't explain it, like you're doing everything right and still losing, that's what I talk about here. I'm Kai. Subscribe if you want to stop getting played by systems designed to keep you broke. Here's the thing that still makes me angry. I thought I was being smart. I wasn't impulsive. I didn't fall in love with granite countertops and sign a lease I couldn't afford. I compared listings for weeks. I calculated commute times. I asked about utilities. I made spreadsheets. I did more research than most people do when buying a car. And I still walked into a trap I didn't see until I was 12 months deep and $6,500 lighter. Let me take you back to move-in day. I want to reconstruct this piece by piece. Because that apartment listing was a crime scene, and I walked right through it without noticing the evidence until it was way too late. The listing said $975 a month. That was the number in my head. That was the number I budgeted around. That was the number I told my friends when they asked what I was paying. What I didn't understand yet was that $975 was just the opening bid. The real price was hidden in places I wasn't trained to look. The first hit came before I even got the keys. Security deposit, $975. First month's rent, $975. Last month's rent, $975. That's $2,925 due at signing. Nearly $3,000 gone before I'd spent a single night in the apartment. I handed over a cashier's check and watched months of savings disappear into a manila folder. I know what you're thinking. That's not a cost, Kai. You get the deposit back. Maybe. 12 months from now. If nothing's damaged. If the landlord doesn't find reasons to deduct. If they don't decide that normal wear and tear is actually excessive damage that conveniently costs exactly $975 to repair. Spoiler, I got $380 of that deposit back. The landlord found scratches on a floor that were there when I moved in, but I didn't take photos. I didn't document anything. I trusted that I'd be treated fairly. That trust cost me $595. And even if I'd gotten the full deposit back, that money sat in someone else's account for 12 months, doing absolutely nothing for me. No interest, no growth, just frozen. If I'd put that $975 in an index fund instead, it would have earned me $70 to $80 over the year. Not life-changing, but it's my money, earning nothing, because I was forced to hand it to a landlord as proof I wouldn't trash the place. But the deposit was just the beginning. The upfront costs were a punch. The ongoing costs were the slow bleed that actually drained me. The listing said, utilities not included. 3 words. I read them, I acknowledged them. I did not do the math. First electric bill arrived 3 weeks in, $94. The building was older, the insulation was garbage, and my window unit, AC, was fighting a losing battle against July. Electric, $85 a month average, $1,020 for the year. Gas, $45 a month average, $540 for the year. Internet, $65 a month, $780 for the year. Water and trash, $35 a month, $420 for the year. That's $2,760 in utilities over the year. Added to rent, my $975 apartment actually cost $1,205 a month. I was already $230 over budget every single month. Here's the rule I learned too late. If a cost only exists because you live somewhere, it's rent. Doesn't matter what label they put on the bill. But utilities were just the entrance fee. Let me show you the fee creep, the constellation of small charges that don't look like much individually, but add up to real money. Trash valet fee, $25 a month. I didn't ask for valet trash service. I didn't want it. They put a bucket outside my door and charged me $25 a month to empty it. It was mandatory. $300 for the year for a service that saved me a 2-minute walk to the dumpster. Parking fee, $75 a month. The listing showed a photo of the parking lot. The parking lot that existed. The parking lot I'd be paying $900 a year to use. That detail wasn't mentioned until page 9 of the lease. Pet fee, $35 a month, plus a $300 non-refundable deposit. My cat, £8, indoor only, the one thing keeping me sane in that apartment, cost me $720 over the year just to exist in a building she never left. Admin fee at signing, $150. For what? Processing paperwork, apparently. Paperwork they were already doing. Paperwork that's part of their job. $150 for the privilege of giving them money. Renter's insurance, $180 a year. Required by the lease. Non-negotiable. Actually, on this one I don't hate. It's reasonable protection. But it wasn't included in the $975. Nothing was included in the $975. That's another $2,250 I didn't see coming. All of it technically disclosed, but disclosed in ways designed to be invisible. I want to stop here and say something important. None of this was illegal. Every single fee was in the lease. Disclosed. I could have found it if I'd read every line with a highlighter and a calculator. But that's the point. The $975 was in bold 48-point font on the listing. The $75 parking fee was in size 10 text on page 9 of a 14-page document I signed after a 45-minute tour where I was already emotionally committed. That's not transparency. That's a magic trick. Keep the audience looking at the big shiny number while you pick their pocket with the small ones. Let me tell you about the moment I started to realize something was wrong. Month 3. I'm sitting at my kitchen table on a Sunday night, trying to do my monthly budget. I have a spreadsheet. I have my bank statements open. I'm trying to figure out why I don't have any money left. I made decent income that year. Not rich, but solid. I'd picked this apartment specifically because it was cheap. I wanted to save. I wanted to build an emergency fund. I wanted to invest something, anything, toward a future that didn't feel so fragile. That was the whole point of not getting the nicer place. But the numbers weren't adding up. I was spending more than I expected every single month, and I couldn't figure out where it was going. It felt like my paycheck hit the account, covered the basics, and then evaporated into nothing. So I pulled up 3 months of transactions. I started categorizing: rent, groceries, transportation, entertainment, normal categories. Then I made a new column: housing adjacent costs. And I forced myself to be honest about what belonged there: the laundry quarters, the parking fee, the admin charges, the gas for the commute, the trash fee, the utility payments, every charge that existed because of where I lived. And I saw it. Death by 1,000 cuts. $25 here, $75 there, $85, $35, $65, $180, every single month. Little charges I'd mentally filed away as not rent because they didn't say rent on the bill. My stomach dropped when I saw the category totals, but they were all the cost of living in that apartment. They were all rent, just wearing a disguise. Even then, I didn't have the full picture, because I hadn't calculated the costs that don't show up on any bill at all. Let's talk about laundry. My apartment didn't have in-unit laundry. The listing said, laundry facilities on site. What that actually meant: 4 washers and 4 dryers shared by 200 units, $2.50 to wash, $2.50 to dry. $5 a week times 52 weeks equals $260 a year, plus the time. Hauling bags down 3 flights of stairs, waiting for machines, folding in a room that smelled like mildew and regret. An apartment with in-unit laundry costs maybe $100 to $150 more per month. I spent roughly the same on coins and lost Sundays, except I got nothing for it. Now, let's talk about the cost nobody puts on a spreadsheet: the commute. I picked this apartment because it was cheap. That's the whole reason I was there instead of somewhere nicer. But cheap meant 35 minutes from my job. On a good day. On a bad day, an accident on the highway, construction, weather, it meant an hour each way. I told myself it was fine. Plenty of people commute farther than that. I could listen to podcasts, catch up on audiobooks. It was me time. It wasn't me time. It was dead time. Time I wasn't getting paid for, wasn't spending with friends. He wasn't investing in anything that mattered, and it had a price tag I didn't want to see. Gas for the commute, roughly $180 a month. My car got decent mileage, but 35 miles each way adds up. That's $2,160 for the year. Car wear and mileage, harder to calculate, but real. Oil changes, tires, brake pads. Every mile on that commute was a mile closer to the next repair bill. Conservatively, $100 a month, $1,200 for the year. That's $3,360 in commute costs. More than 3 months of rent, just to get to and from the place I was paying rent to escape. But here's the cost that doesn't fit in any spreadsheet. Time. 70 minutes a day, average. 5 days a week. 50 weeks a year. That's 291 hours I spent in my car. Nearly 2 full weeks of my life, 12 days, sitting in traffic, burning gas, getting absolutely nowhere. If I'd valued that time at even $15 an hour, less than I made at my actual job, that's $4,375 in lost productivity, lost opportunity, lost life. You can't get hours back. They don't compound. They just disappear. I lived in a cheap apartment, and I paid for it with time I can never buy back, every single day, twice a day, for a year. And the worst part? I blamed myself. I thought I just messed up the budget. I thought I was bad with money. I didn't realize the budget was fine. The apartment was the problem. There's one more cost I need to tell you about, the one I didn't see coming at all. The one that made me realize this wasn't just bad luck. It was a system. Month 11, I get a letter under my door. Lease renewal offer. I opened it expecting the standard, "We'd love to have you stay" language. My rent was going up. $975 to $1,095. A $120 a month increase. $1,200 more per year for the privilege of staying in the same apartment that had been bleeding me dry for 12 months. No improvements, no upgrades, no fresh paint. Just, you've been here a year, so now you pay more. I remember standing in my living room doing the math on my phone. What would it cost to leave? First month, last month, security deposit at a new place, roughly $3,000. Moving truck, $200 to $400. Time off work to move, $300 to $500. The physical and emotional exhaustion of packing everything, hiring movers, changing my address, setting up utilities, starting over. All in, it would cost me roughly $3,500 to escape, minimum. So here were my options. Pay $1,200 more per year to stay in an apartment I just learned was slowly draining me, or pay $3,500 up front to leave for somewhere that might be exactly the same. That's the renewal trap. And now that I've seen it, I can't unsee how deliberate it is. They know exactly what it costs you to move. They've calculated it, and they price the increase just below that threshold, just low enough that staying feels easier than leaving. You're not staying because the apartment is good. You're staying because leaving is expensive. That's not a housing market. That's a hostage situation with a lease agreement. Let me add it all up now. The real number. The part of the crime scene they never put in the listing. Base rent, $11,700. Utilities, $2,760. Fees, parking, pet, trash, admin, insurance, $2,250. Laundry, $260. Commute, gas plus wear, $3,360. Lost deposit, $595. Opportunity cost on deposit, $80. Total actual cost, $20,810. That's what the apartment actually cost me. I said $18,200 at the top because I didn't include the commute costs in my original calculation. When I added those, which I should have from the start, the number got worse. When I added the deposit I didn't get back, it got worse again. $20,810 to live in a $975 a month apartment. That's $1,734 per month, not $975, almost double the listing price. Let me say that again so it actually lands. The apartment that was supposed to help me save money cost me almost double what the listing said. Every single month. For a full year. While I blame myself for being bad at budgeting. Let me put that differently so you feel what I felt. I thought I was saving money by choosing the cheap apartment. I thought I was being responsible. And I spent $5,000 more than I would have if I'd rented a $1,250 place closer to work with utilities included and in-unit laundry. The expensive apartment was actually cheaper. The cheap apartment was a trap designed to look like a deal. Here's what I finally understood, too late, about how this system works. Landlords and property managers know something you don't. They know that renters shop by listing price, sort by price, low to high. That's how 90% of people search for apartments, so they optimize for that number. They strip out everything that would make the listing price higher, then add it back as fees, requirements, and not included line items. The listing price isn't what you'll pay. It's the bait. It's designed to win the sort filter, not to tell you the truth. The lease is where the real price hides. But by the time you're reading the lease, you've already fallen in love with the apartment. You've already imagined your furniture in the living room. You've already told your friends you found a place. You've already started packing mentally. The emotional investment makes you blind to the financial reality, and they're counting on that. I wasn't stupid. I was careful. I was responsible. I was manipulated by a system designed to hide the true cost until I was too committed to walk away. Here's what I do differently now. I don't look at listing price anymore. I calculate total monthly cost before I even schedule a tour. Rent plus utilities plus fees plus commute plus laundry. All 5 numbers added together. If I can't estimate all 5, I don't waste my time viewing the place. I read the lease before I fall in love, before I tour. I ask them to email me the lease template and fee schedule up front. If they won't send it, that tells me everything I need to know about how they operate. I calculate commute cost in dollars, not minutes. Every mile costs money. Every hour costs life. A 20-minute commute versus a 40-minute commute isn't just a convenience thing. It's thousands of dollars a year and hundreds of hours I could spend on literally anything else. And I never confuse listing price with actual cost. They are not the same number. The listing price is marketing. The actual cost is math. That $975 apartment taught me something I'll never forget. Cheap is what they call it, to get you in the door. What you actually pay is something else entirely. And by the time you see the real number, you're already trapped in a lease you can't afford to break. The apartment listing was the shiny number. The lie I told myself. The $20,810 was the truth. The cost of learning to read the fine print. I can't get that money back. But now I see the whole game. I know exactly what I'm looking at. Once you see it, it's hard to miss.